Hey everyone. So recently I got a couple of games of Star Wars Legion's new rule system in under my belt. I'm sure I still made a bunch of mistakes. I would think of these more as a player getting a chance to play a demo game more than anything. But I still got to play those demo games, get my kind of taste of the new rules and everything. And one of the games I got a lot of photos of, so I figured let's make a battle report. We decided to do the smaller skirmisher format. I'm actually a huge fan of Legion skirmish format, so I was curious how it was going to work in this new edition. But the real reason that we wanted to was because there's a lot of rule changes with this new rule book. Big surprise there. And I'm sure we already got plenty of stuff wrong in this game, but we wanted to try to limit that as much as possible and kind of stay focused on what new elements they were offering in 2.60 Star Wars Legion. So if you didn't notice from the previews of the lists there, we decided to fully embrace the new large squad sizes in this game, and we've got two fully loaded out squads each. We both kind of took like a utility or vehicle type option for our lists, and the Rebels are a little bit cheaper, so I was able to squeeze in a Fleet Trooper squad in my list, but my opponent's got Darth Vader, and obviously he's worth a couple of extra points if you can utilize him correctly. Skywalker is pretty good in this edition, though. He got Inspire 2 added to his card. I like to see that. But the Compel rule that Darth Vader got added to his card, I think that might be even better, if I'm being honest. These are the objectives, secondary objectives, and I'm drawing a blank on what they're called, but like the strategic benefits that we each got for the skirmish game we're about to play. And we'll move on to the battle itself. Some pre-game footage of the actual battlefield. I'm going to have, I guess you would call it, the more natural kind of rock cluster deserty side, and the Empire is going to have a bit more of that industrialized building kind of area on the top side of the board. Now, I know in a lot of games of Legion now, on the first turn, you're going to actually be coming in off the board edge and basically like starting your movement literally there on the board edge. However, I don't recall if it was skirmish or the scenario we got in general, but we had prepared positions is what I want to say it was called, where we actually will be starting our units deployed within our deployment zone at the start of the game. Also, we had some terrain issues. I guess it's kind of my own and my opponent's fault beforehand, not setting the board up appropriately, but a couple of the antennas were going to be like on top of very kind of awkward terrain, or it would create like an unfair situation. So some of them got moved a little bit, but it's as close as we could do to what the card wanted, and I don't think it ruined anything or gave one side an advantage over the other. When it came to the first turn, I played standing orders. I know we have less turns to play cards, but I like a lot of Skywalker's cards. I could see a lot of situations where they would come in handy, so I figured save them for later and just start a little bit slow. We both only have like range 3 on our guns. We decided we want to take huge dice pools, so I took a Z6 and he took like the T21 or whatever it is. It gives 4 white dice, critical 2 to stormtroopers. So yeah, we're all kind of out of range of each other on this first turn. So that was another reason I figured to be a little bit more reserved and save my good cards for later. My opponent had the opposite idea, but it makes a lot of sense. This is something I learned in the tournament I played in recently, if you just saw that video. Darth Vader played his card, I think it's Darkness Descends, and it gives him Reliable 2, so he'll get like 2 Surge tokens every time he gets an order at the very start of the turn, and that stays on him permanently for the game. So, like I said, we are pretty much all going to be out of range of each other on the first turn, so it's going to be a lot of positioning, move orders. However, we were both kind of delaying for the very end to see how far forward each player was going to be going with their units. And I saw a Stormtrooper squad on the far right side that went a little bit too far forward for their own good. And then you could argue one of my trooper squads had to go a little bit too far forward to secure the objective in my starter zone. And the Dewback's going to spur himself forward, get an extra movement from that, and then he gets to do a shooting attack, and he'll get an insanely lucky roll with 2 crits, pluck off a rebel or 2, And I don't think my attack is quite as successful, which is funny because I had 10 guys shooting at a target with a Z6, and he had just one guy riding a dewback with that T-21, and he did more than I did. But the luck went both ways because the Rebel squad aced their saves somehow. And I think the Stormtroopers did as well, not that my roll is that impressive. I actually did have one more big dice pool attack that I almost forgot about here on turn 1. I have that speeder, and it's going to be able to move up on that same Stormtrooper squad that just got shot at and shoot a pretty big dice pool at it. Darth Vader still had his force barrier ability, so that's why I took 2 of those hits and kind of put them aside like that. Those are going to get canceled out by that. And then you can see the red dice there are his armor save, and then the 2 white dice that I separated there are his cover save. So not a bad result. I blasted 3 stormtroopers out of their entrenched positions there. I also want to mention one of those barriers that got put down there was one of the ones he put down at the very start using his little strategic advantage condition card. I didn't bother taking photos of each move by move play we did on the first turn, but I did use my strategic pass ability, I think on my first or second activation, to get some of these stormtroopers a little bit more forward and let me capitalize on some range attacks like this. And these are our little concluding shots here of the end of turn 1. I would say the Rebels have come out a little bit on top, especially given our secondary objective of handing out suppression tokens. One of those Stormtrooper squads is incredibly stacked. I think he's got 3 suppression tokens. I want to say Darth Vader compelled that squad at the very start before they even got shot at or anything, and that's the reason they've got 3 suppression tokens there. Started turn 2, and these are the cards that we played. My opponent even admitted to this. He wasn't planning on killing any of his troops for Darth Vader's card to take effect. More so, he just wanted to get specific orders on units to get surge tokens from aggressive tactics. Now, I'm not going to be using my card to perform any Jedi Master mind tricks on the enemy. Instead, I'm going to use it on that trooper squad that's within range 1 of Luke Skywalker. They are going to do a full range volley on that Empire Stormtrooper squad that they shot at earlier. The results were pretty pitiful. Obviously, they don't have a red dice in their pool, by the way. I just, didn't have a white dice to put in the screenshot there, so I just substituted it out. That's going to actually happen quite a few times because we are just constantly rolling, every dice we have available for this game. But it's another suppression token for them, and that was only a free action for Luke, I believe. So he's going to actually, I think, take a dodge token and a shot at that Stormtrooper squad as well to add on another suppression token. And kind of hilariously, that whole squad didn't deal a single wound, and Skywalker's DL-44 pistol is actually going to pluck off one of those Stormtroopers. And because of those 4 suppression tokens, the Empire is going to activate those Stormtroopers, and as you can see from the picture here, they just got an outstanding roll on their rally step here. And that's going to mean that those Stormtroopers only have 1 action. Obviously, pretty much nothing in this army is ever going to get panicked, which actually affects me a bit when it comes to doing the objectives. It's both good and bad. I don't have to get suppression tokens on Vader. It's 1 less unit, but it also means that all my suppression that I'm trying to get from this objective is ultimately not doing its full effect. Despite the hindered state these Stormtroopers are in, they're going to return fire at my Rebel squad, and they didn't really get the best roll, but of course they did better than I did, and they get a wound through on my squad. My land speeder's going to activate, and it's going to have to move up a little bit more than I would like it to into danger territory, but it is what it is, and it's going to get a good shot through before it ends its activation. Again, those 2 hits that I put aside there, that is Darth Vader's force barrier helping that pinned down Stormtrooper squad. I don't have a photo of it, but the squad that moved up, the other full health Stormtrooper squad currently holding down the objective in his control zone or deployment zone, is going to take a lucky set of shots at my land speeder. I really don't think he was expecting to do that much, and he ended up doing quite a lot, I would say. It's my own fault, but I forgot my land speeder has the armor 2 keyword, which definitely would have helped a lot in this situation, but it is what it is. Also, I could be wrong. This might have happened on the following turn, but at one point the land speeder is going to do a split shot, and I'm going to have, I think, the rocket go into the stormtrooper squad that's sitting on the Empire's objective in their deployment zone. I'm doing this just so I can get a suppression token essentially on all the units and get that extra victory point through the secondary. I think the Empire's going to get the dewback, and he's going to just stay put. When we were reading the objective situation, I'm pretty sure even though this dewback doesn't have one of the intel tokens, it can still contest the objective, which will give him a victory point. And I don't have any units over there, so that was his strategy. Just stay put, take shots at my rebel squad, kind of force me to do something. And with his critical on the gun and the way he's been rolling, he's going to continue to kind of just pluck away at me. I should say that squad that he's shooting at with the dewback is one of my intel holding objective securing units there. That's the one that was in my deployment zone. And they're going to return fire and take shots at the dewback. It doesn't really start too well. I think I only get like one wound through. And because of that, I was feeling a little impatient, and I also wanted to contest that objective on this turn. So I sent my fleet troopers up that I kind of had hiding behind this building, waiting for the dewback to get close. And they pop out, and I think they get a wound in on him, but it's not really the best result. And also now they're staring this dewback in the face who's got the tenacity keyword triggered, and I'm pretty sure it's feeling hungry for fleet troopers. So this is our board at the end of turn 2. We did have a bit of fortune for the rebel side at the start of turn 3 here. My opponent played Darth Vader's 1-pip card, obviously hoping to just wipe out Luke Skywalker this turn. However, my card completely countered his and basically made it null and void. So I would say this was a very big kind of fortunate boon for the rebels this turn. However, I don't think that fortune is going to be lasting too long, because Darth Vader is obviously not attacking this turn, so he doesn't really have too much reason to activate him, and he's going to draw a trooper, and that stormtrooper squad that was at full health last time that shot at my land speeder is going to go for a finishing shot and wipe it out. I will say I don't know if the armor key rule was remembered that time around, but I did take 2 extra wounds on that, so if I only forgot it on that first dice pull, it actually probably wouldn't have made too big a difference at all. He literally just dealt 2 extra wounds to me, so might save me like 1 extra turn limping off here, getting a shot off. But again, I think he just had really lucky rolls here. I wasn't getting the best in the world, but my results weren't too bad. But yeah, this land speeder did not seem destined to last too long on this battlefield. Frustrated with the situation I found myself in, I decided to have the rebel squad that was near Skywalker and that land speeder open fire on Darth Vader. Unfortunately, he was in cover. He had a surge token because he got an order at the very start. And yeah, we only get a couple wounds in. Nothing too significant, but not the worst result. Looking a little bit grim on that side of the battlefield. And then when it comes back to the Empire player's turn, things are going to look even grimmer on the other side of the battlefield, because that hungry dewback's going to get in combat with the fleet troopers and completely devour and wipe out the squad in one single combat. If I was a little smarter, I would have activated them first, but I don't know why I thought he was going to activate Darth Vader next and get like a dodge token, maybe position himself a little bit better on that objective, and I would lose my shot of opportunity there. Not that it ended up doing much anyways. It was also a random draw, so he had a couple of other things to activate in his order pool that were random. A little bit of luck involved in it as well. My rebel squad that's positioned on the objective, though, he's even closer now, and I'm going to take some shots of revenge for the fleet troopers that have fallen on that dewback, and it's a pretty good volley. Wasn't quite sure what the rules were for the dewback in that situation. I think it would have gotten cover. We gave it light cover at the very least, if not heavy, but didn't end up mattering. I got 4 wounds in on him, and with the one done earlier, I think that thing is just barely limping at this stage. Back to the other side of the battlefield, I think that very suppressed stormtrooper squad rolled another fantastic rally step and is going to continue to be suppressed and take a return fire shot at my rebel squad that's been shooting at them nearly the entire game. Yet again, he's going to get a couple of lucky shots through and kill a couple more of my guys and my big squad off. I think because of Skywalker's Inspire, I was able to get rid of that suppression that they just took there. He's the final one to activate, and he doesn't really do too much. I just think I give him a dodge token, which he'll keep with Vigilance, and just position him on that objective that Vader's near. It's going to be a battle to see who can control it at the end of the game. And this is a photo of the start of turn 4 here. Other than our order tokens getting handed out, nothing's activated yet. Forgot to mention during turn 3, even though Luke couldn't attack, I decided to move him into a melee just to keep Darth Vader tied up in case he would get the priority on the start of the next turn. And I figured we're both in contesting zone of that objective. I don't know if you want to call it karma, but basically I canceled his card out last turn, and he's going to happen to play a card that's going to almost perfectly cancel mine out this turn. So it's just a back and forth between us when it comes to the command cards now. So I had some options, for sure, if you look at the board right now, of what I wanted to activate. And maybe I picked the wrong one, but I'll explain my thought process. I was very nervous about that Dewback charging my Rebel squad, the 10-man. I think he gets like a free reposition. I know he gets a free attack after he does a move. Basically, my point with all this is he was going to be in range to charge my unit there. He only has 1 wound. I was probably going to kill him even in a melee situation. But yeah, I was a little nervous about that. Maybe unnecessarily so. I've only lost like maybe 3 or 4 guys in that squad at this point, so I don't think he was going to wipe them out. But yeah, I decided to activate that trooper squad first. I don't really see much logic in activating Skywalker first. He's just going to do an attack on Darth Vader, and even if I got a perfect roll and my opponent failed every single save, I'm still not going to kill him. So I really didn't see the logic in that. And the trooper squad that's near Darth Vader and Skywalker, it could take a quick shot at one of the stormtrooper squads, but one of them's pretty far out of range at this stage, and the one that they've been shooting at the entire game is already taken a lot of casualties. I don't know, I just really didn't see the need in rushing that. It seemed like it was better to delete the Dewback before it had a chance to activate. He also put an order token on it too, so he could have activated it at any time he would have liked. And the volley definitely gets that wound through. I delete the Dewback, and then we go back to the Empire's turn, and I'm not too surprised by this. He's going to activate Darth Vader and use his card's ability to give 3 suppression tokens out to Skywalker and my trooper squad nearby. Vader's going to aim and take a swing at Luke. Luckily I had some dodge tokens ready, and I'm only going to take 2 wounds from this attack. Naturally, I'm going to want to activate Skywalker here and try to use his Inspire to get rid of those suppression tokens on my Rebel squad nearby. I'll also go for an attack back on Darth Vader. I don't know how, but I lost the photos of the attack pool. I do know I got 2 wounds through on Darth Vader, though. When I activate this troop squad, I actually only saw the 1 token there, and I thought that was what they were at. I thought I already did the Inspire and everything, so I rolled the dice for this without even thinking about it, even though I had a plan for it. And yeah, I rolled 3 blanks anyway, so it didn't matter. I had told my opponent, I was like, hey, I forgot to change the 3 to a 1 suppression token, but I rolled 3 white dice anyways and got all blanks, so I think I'll just keep that suppression token. So when they activate, they are obviously going to be a little bit suppressed. They only have 1 action. I decided to take a petty shot at the stormtroopers that they've been shooting at this entire game because it was the only thing in range, and I didn't want to do a move action. Didn't really do too much, tragically. He decides to go for a bold play, though, this turn. He realized he only needed to get 1 more suppression token out to score on that objective, so he sacrifices scoring on his safe objective back at his deployment zone, has the squad blitz forward, take a shot on my squad that's on the scoring objective, getting him a suppression token, and basically even everything out for this turn so we get the same amount. But now he's pressuring my squad, and I'm at a bit of a disadvantage in terms of numbers and positioning, you could say as well. And this was the state of our board at the end of turn 4. I gotta be honest, I was losing a bit of hope. I think I still was up 1 objective point, but I had this strange feeling that if I didn't kill Darth Vader in the following turn and Luke Skywalker ended up getting killed, it was probably going to be the end of the game for me. We play our cards, both 1 pips. It's going to all come down to a dice roll, and the Empire will seize the initiative. Darth Vader activates first. He picks up my rebel trooper squad nearby and flings them around the corner, so if I want to take any shots, I'll have to move. And in the process, he snapped 2 of my guys' necks. After that, he aims and attacks Skywalker. And unfortunately, the battle's going to end right here. I didn't get that good a defensive roll, and he is going to strike me down. Now, again, I figured this was the end of the battle, probably right here, but we wanted to get a feel for all the new rules and get more familiar with everything, so I decided to activate my squad that just got flung around the corner there. I think the stormtroopers also shot at them last turn, and they had 2 suppression tokens, and I still had one on them. I get rid of the suppression token, they're able to move up, and I'm going to take a shot at Darth Vader. I think he gets a perfect defensive roll. I had just barely enough range to move my squad that's been sitting on my central objective over to the right side and get a really long range shot on Darth Vader as well. This was actually an even better attack pool, and he rolled really bad on his final defensive roll here. But I was 1 or 2 wounds shy of finishing the Dark Lord of the Sith off, and it is going to be a victory for the Empire. Some of my post-battle thoughts here. I'm used to using, I can't remember what the weapon's called, but it's like the DLT-19 on Rebel Troopers, and running small squads, moving them up, and kind of plucking away at Empire at range 4, and not doing too bad at it. But when it came to this range 3 game, it kind of reminded me of playing this game way back in the day, before you had all your fancy tools with Rebel Troopers, and when you kind of are just doing that range 3 exchange back and forth against Empire, and it's not really anyone moving too much, you definitely kind of notice the Rebels are struggling a little bit, especially when they don't have other bigger elements like heroes, vehicles, or elite troopers kind of coming in to support that firing exchange back and forth. But that's my own fault. I chose to kind of engage the game that way against the Empire. I think it's because my first couple of volleys were so favorable, and I saw a couple of stormtroopers getting plucked off real early, and I was like, oh, okay, maybe I'll just keep doing that, keep building up my lead. But it was the combination of me playing that game with the Empire and them arguably being a little bit better at that, especially with the critical 2 on their weapons. And then me moving that fleet trooper squad up so aggressively to contest that objective. Yeah, it kept me in the game and or with a lead on victory points until near the very end there when I lost Skywalker. But I just kind of threw that squad out, and I could have gone more with it. I literally only need 1 more wound on that dewback so that my volley fire from earlier would have deleted it, and then that squad would have been free to do a shot at Vader potentially and get those 2 wounds through. There were a lot more I could have done with them. You get what I'm saying. Also, obviously, when I'm being kind of stagnant there and just taking aim actions and shooting back and forth, I'm not really taking advantage of the dodge capabilities and the buff that Rebel Troopers obviously got. I was also using Vigilance on Skywalker more than anything to keep his dodge tokens, but maybe I should have been, kind of like I was just saying, generating those tokens with the troopers and keeping them on them so they wouldn't kept getting chipped down as much. I will say a lot of those were criticals kind of chipping through on me, and I wouldn't be able to use the dodge tokens on those, so maybe I did make the right call on that, but I don't know. It feels like based on the buffs that I received, I should have been maneuvering them a bit better and getting a bit more dodgy. I could have put the land speeder a bit further back because I was moving up slowly with it. I think each turn I was only doing the free move action that it had to do, and then I would do an aimed shot attack each time. But yeah, maybe I need to put it a little bit further back, let it move up a little bit more slowly before it starts taking those volleys. I will say it actually did pretty good attack wise. It's just that the Empire players seemed to get ridiculously lucky every single time it came to making armor saves or cover saves. Also, there's obviously some times where I was doing good with the command cards, and then especially on that second to last turn, I definitely fumbled playing that one command card that gives me extra rerolls when I have no suppression tokens, and Vader played a card that made it where I'm going to get a bunch of suppression tokens and completely nullify my card's ability. So that was a bit of a misplay. I had one good card play, though, that kind of balanced that out to some extent. But I didn't even get to use my Son of Skywalker ability at the very end there. I got killed before I could even roll the dice, tragically. And if you think about it, had I played that card on the prior turn, I might have lost out on one dodge token on that attack pool that Darth Vader did on me, but I would have still been alive, and I don't think it would have been out of the realm of possibility for me to get that 1 or 2 extra wounds through on him. And if Vader was down and Skywalker was down, we both would have been in a situation where we only had one unit with the intel that could score on an objective, and then we would have each had one unit that could basically sprint out and contest an objective. And unless one of those units got deleted, it would have been an equal turn on victory points probably at the very end. And again, I would have been able to use my 1-point lead to actually secure a victory overall. So originally, after I gave my thoughts on the game I just played there, I was also going to have a section discussing the pros, cons, neutral opinions, and community's opinions on the new rules for Legion. But I recorded the whole thing and I realized, wow, this is like twice the length of my actual battle report here. So I decided to cut it, and I'm going to make that into a separate video, which should be coming out very soon. If you have any interest in listening to my thoughts on all that stuff, be sure to check that video out as well. And yeah, that's about it, folks. Have a great day. I'll see you all later. Bye-bye.